we are now in the study of Song of Solomon. Last time, Ecclesiastes. Now, ito yung last writings ni Solomon actually. Itong librong to, bibihira actually nating basahin to until pag nabasa natin, may mga tanong tayo, ano? Parang, ano tungkol saan ito? Kasi yung awitin na to parang sa dalawang tao na magkatipan, di ba? Kaya nga ang pangalan dito actually ay Song of Solomon. Tinamagatan natin ito, more than a love poem. Ang ibang mga tao o even scholars, they're calling this book Song of Songs. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Siguro magtataka kayo, bakit tinawag na Song of Songs? Kasi ina-attribute ito na parang 'di ba, parang may king tapos king of kings, 'di ba? Mas mataas na hari sa lahat ng hari. Ito parang ina-attribute, this is the Song of Songs. Okay? Well, basically we call it Song of Solomon. Ayun, i-explore natin. Overview muna tayo ng context. Well, the Song of Solomon or Song of Songs as it is known in Hebrew Bible, basically napaka-unique nito. Sinulat ito in a poetic book. Meaning to say, hindi mo kailangang per word ay interpret kung ano ibig sabihin. Ang kailangan mo lang ay i-appreciate siya. Okay? This is a unique and poetic book. It stands as a profound celebration of human love and marriage. Now, napakayaman ito sa mga theological imagery, especially when you're going to link it with God's love and His love for His people. Okay? So, yan ang overview niyan. Now, sino ang sumulat ng Song of Solomon? Where nakasulat siya mismo, naka-superscription siya sa loob mismo ng libro sa verse 1 of chapter 1. Sabi dito, the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's song. Nakanya? Well, this is believed to be one of the 1,005 songs which composed by the king himself. It demonstrates his wisdom and his skills when it comes to poetry. Nakanya? And the frequent references to luxury, yung flora, fauna, ano ibig sabihin ng flora? Yung mga bulaklak, tapos yung mga hayop, even yung geography alignment dito. Makikita mo talaga yung status condition of Solomon's kingdom. Nakuha nyo, binanggit yan dito. Now, kailan sinulat ito? Sabi ng mga scholars, most probably on the early reign of King Solomon, 970 to 960 before Christ, the book or actually reflects the purity of early devoted love. Nakuha nyo, kung babasahin nyo, sino po sa inyo kabasa rito ng buong book, ng Book of Solomon, o Song of Solomon? Makikita mo, wow, talagang makikita mo nagliligawan yung dalawa. Yung lalaki ay binabanggit niya yung pagsinta niya sa kanyang minamahal, tapos sasagutin naman ng babae. In fact, parang may mga graphic pa nga minsan, may mga picture dito na binabanggit mismo yung part ng katawan ng babae. Hanapin niyo yun sa librong to. Which basically, it suggests a very intimate love that is being relayed or communicated to his loved one. Nakuha nyo? You will also see the enthusiasm and freshness of the poetry. Very consistent yun. At masasabi mo na yung face ng rule ni Solomon rito was very, very much in positive condition. Well, ano ang meaning and interpretation nito? How are we going to have the meaning and interpret it? Well, pwedeng literal, pwedeng allegorical, and typological. Ano ibig sabihin literal? Kung ano yung sinasabi dun, yun na yun. Ano naman yung allegorical? Ito yung mga sinasabi, meron pang ibang meaning. Nakuha nyo? Ano naman yung typological? Yung typological, ibig sabihin yung nagsasalita ditong lalaki, pwedeng lalaki talaga siya na nagsasalita sa kanyang minamahal na babae. Pero pwede rin ito ng type ni Jesus. Meaning to say, yung lalaki ay parang si Jesus at yung babae na kanyang iniirog ay yung mga mananampalataya o yung simbahan. Ayun ang tinatawag typological. Nakuha nyo? So, literal saka historical, ang kanta na ito primarily, it celebrates actually in a very dramatic way the love that is being ordained by God between the bridegroom, and that is the King Solomon, and his bride. Dito, ang pagkaka-define o pagkaka-illustrate ay Shulamite woman. Napansin nyo siguro yung picture natin dito, yung babae medyo dark ang skin. Kasi may binanggit actually dyan sa mga verses na yan. Yung dark skin niya, maganda talaga. So this interpretation values the book as God's affirmation. Actually, God affirms that sex actually is pure in line with in relationship to marriage. Nakuha nyo? Iyan ang isang makikita natin dito. Okay? Next. Allegorically, well, tradition ng Jewish, even Christian, ini-interpret nila yung love relationship between man and a woman here is actually being said that this is actually an intimate relationship of God to His people. Nakuha nyo, yun yung allegorical or traditional Jewish Christian interpretation. So, yung lalaki ditong kumakanta, although literally pwede natin sabihin si Solomon yun sa kanyang minamahal, pero ang isang interpretation doon is that this is actually God singing His song or saying His love, His commitment towards the people that He loves. Nakuha nyo? Yun nga, very intimate yung covenant love na yun ni God para sa kanyang church, which basically in Ephesians chapter 5 verse 25 to 27, He calls it the bride. So tayo yung bride. Typological approach, ito ang pinaka-best approach daw. The song is literally about human marriage, but it typifies the relationship between God and His people. Meaning to say, dito makikita mo, tao talaga, lalaki, kumakanta ng kanyang pagsinta at pagmamahal sa kanyang minamahal na babae, pero that can also mean a type of God. God actually giving out or conveying His love to His people, especially to the church. So yun yung yung ibig sabihin ng typology. Now, anong significance ng Book of Song of Solomon sa atin ngayon, sa ating mga modern reader? We have to know it kasi matagal yun, ancient writings yan mga 3,000 years ago na isulat, more than. So ano ibig sabihin yan sa atin ngayon? Well, basically this, God's design for intimacy in covenant. In a culture that often cheapens sex and diminishes marriage, the song offers a sacred, beautiful, and conclusive model of devotion. Anong sinasabi nito? Pero kasi mga tao, ang tingin sa pagmamahalan o sa sex mismo o sa kasal, parang mababa na ang kanilang pagpapahalaga. Ngayon, dito sa Song of Solomon actually ina-affirm na yung sex especially is actually a holy thing. Nakuha nyo? Hindi yan masama, hindi yan pangit. Basta tama lang, nasa tama lang siya. Nakuha nyo? Yung relationship ng intimacy ng husband and wife, ina-affirm yun ng Bible. Nakuha nyo? Hindi siya something na kasi I don't know kung nakarinig na kayo nung may mga cult o may mga nagtuturo na yung ang sex daw ay masama. No, actually it's not. Even before, ang Diyos ang gumawa niyan at ayan ay banal. Nagiging masama lang siya kapag ginamit siya out of bound, no? Pag wala na siya, hindi na siya sa marriage. Nakuha nyo? Now, yung intimacy ng husband and wife, ng lalaki at babae, na, di ba, pag kinonsumate mo yung marriage mo, diba, kinasal kayo, kinonsumate mo na siya, nagtalik na kayo ng mag-asawa. Ano yun yun ang pinaka-intimate, pinaka-malalim na relationship nyo. At yun ay, private lang yun between you and your spouse. That actually is the picture of our relationship with God. We cannot have another God, just like you cannot have another husband or wife. Nakuha nyo? Now, the book of Song of Songs validates the entire range of human emotion from longing to delight as part of God's creation. Di ba meron tayong sa puso natin, meron tayong longing na tayo ay mahalin, magmahal. Dito yun, binabalidate yun. Meaning to say, that's fine. That's actually a God-given emotion. And even delight, yung pagiging masaya dahil may karelasyon ka. Pagiging masaya kasi meron kang minamahal. That's part of God's design. Nakuha nyo? Now, may ilan ako mga trivia dito tungkol sa libro. Una, the only one book. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Well, the Song of Solomon is actually the only book in the Bible that is written in a very dramatic dialogue about a man and his bride. Wala nang iba. Nakuha nyo? Ito, dito makikita na nag-uusap talaga. Very poetic yung pag-uusap ng lalaki. Pag nagsalta yung lalaki, sasagutin ng babae. Tapos i-define o paparamdam ng lalaki niyang pagmamahal sa kanyang asawang babae. Nakuha nyo? Kitang-kita nyo yun. I suggest na basahin nyo. Tapos pag binasa nyo, wag nyong madaliin. Pag binasa nyo yung Song of Solomon, alam mo yun, dahan-dahan, tapos nagre-reflect ka. So yan, nag-iisa lang yan. Wala nang ibang libro na katulad na ganyan. Hindi katulad ng prophecy o prophetic book. May mga prophetic book, di ba? Marami yan sila. Yung major prophets, marami yan sila. Minor prophets, marami yan sila. Tsaka yung history, marami yan. Pero ito, yung gantong klaseng libro, nag-iisa lang siya, no? Ayan ang isa sa trivia. Pangalawa, sa buong Bible o sa buong libro ng Song of Solomon, wala kang maririnig o mababasa na minention si God o ang pangalan ni God. There is no direct mention of God. It is actually one of the 2 books in the Bible na sinulat pero hindi na mention si God, pero you will know behind it actually God is there. Although the name of God is not directly mentioned, no, in the book. Wala kang makikita rito na minention yung salitang God. Nakuha nyo? Ang isa pang libro, napag-usapan na natin last time yan, mga nakalipas na mga panahon, yung Book of Esther. Nakuha nyo? So this 2 book does not explicitly mention the name of God, yung salitang Yahweh or Elohim. Pero kahit hindi nabanggit yung pangalan na Yahweh o Elohim, sa buong libro mararamdaman mo na very profound yung message mismo ni God. Nakuha nyo? Even sa Song of Solomon, you will notice, you will feel it actually profoundly, the theological truth that God celebrates His instituted covenant, and that is the covenant of marriage. Si God ang nag-ordain yan at sineselebrate niya. Ano ibig sabihin yan? Masaya siya dyan. Alam nyo kapag mag-seminar ako sa pre-marriage orientation sa City Hall ng Antipolo, ino-congratulate ko yung mga magpapakasal. Gusto ko niya, congratulations. Alam nyo kung bakit? Kasi nag-decide kayo na maging maayos yung buhay. At alam nyo, ina-affirm ko na sa kanila na alam nyo, yung ginagawa nyo yan ng pag-iisang dibdib, pagiging legal, ay inordain mismo ni God. Meaning, kalooban ng Diyos na tayo ay makasal. Nakuha niya. So, isa yon sa makikita nyo sa Book of Song of Solomon. Now, pangatlong trivia, itong Jewish canonical date. Due to its intimate content, the book's inclusion to the Jewish canon, yung Tanakh, was debated until the Council of Nicaea. Meaning to say, dati, parang iniisip ng mga tao, ay parang hindi ito kasama talaga sa Bible. Kasi nga, yung laman niya kakaiba tungkol sa nagmamahalan eh. Tapos hindi pa nabanggit si God. So, iniisip ng mga scholars dati, kasama ba talaga sa Bible to? Well, eventually, the book was secured in the canon, meaning to say, napasama siya dun sa 66 books kasi nga nakita nila that there is actually a deeper truth behind the story. That is the allegorical interpretation of God's covenant to His people, basically Israel. Pero tayo ngayon mga Kristiyano, ang interpretation natin yan, yung lalaki doon si Jesus, tapos yung babae ay yung church o yung bride. Okay? And we are the church. Okay? Okay, and lastly, the title's meaning. Ano ibig sabihin? Kasi sa sa Jewish Bible, hindi siya Song of Solomon kundi Song of Songs. Song of Songs. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Superlative yun. Kumbaga, ito ang kanta ng pinakalahat ng kanta. Nakuha nyo, parang itong King of Kings, itong hari ng lahat ng hari. Ito naman, ito yung kanta ng lahat ng kanta. Meaning to say, nasa superlative structure siya. Meaning, this is the best song, the greatest song. Nakuha nyo? Parang papareho yan ng King of Kings o kaya Holy of Holies. Pagdating naman sa kanta, ito yung pinakakanta sa lahat ng kanta. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng Song of Songs. Nakuha nyo? Meaning to say, this is a very important writings. Okay? Now, I would like to share to you 7 principles for spiritual and marital life that you and I can apply. Nakuha nyo? Ang Song of Solomon, nagpo-provide siya ng mga powerful principles actually that we can apply sa ating marriage and even sa ating relationship with Jesus. Nakuha nyo? Ano yun? Number 1, the priority of intimacy over activity. Dito sa Song chapter 1 verse 2 to 4, ang principle dito actually, yung Shulamite, yung babae, yung primary desire niya ay hindi yung kung ano man ang maibibigay ng hari, no, kapangyarihan. Hindi yun. Ang dinidesire niya, hindi yung kapangyarihan o kaya ang ari-arian, kundi ang dinidesire niya mismo, yung hari. Sabi rito, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. Naka nyo? Parang sinasabi dyan na mas mahalaga actually yung ating relationship, yung ating intimacy with God kaysa sa mga ginagawa natin. Naka nyo? Minsan kasi ganito tayong mga tao, we pursue parang significance in life according to what we can do. Yung kaya ang ilan sa atin dito, ang dami-daming ginagawa, nagpapaka-busy kasi we get significance out of that. Nakuha nyo? That's fine. I mean, that's fine kapag may ginagawa tayo, kapag may trabaho tayo, may project tayo, that's okay. Kaya lang, dapat daw i-priority natin yung ating relationship with God over the things that we are doing. Let me illustrate that further. Pwede ba nga isang tao, nagbi-ministry siya o gumagawa siya ng mga bagay sa ministry pero malayo yung kanyang loob sa Panginoon? Yung sinasabi nila, you are busy in the kingdom but you neglect your relationship with the king. Pwedeng ganun So dito, ang isang principle na makikita natin, intimacy is more important than activity. Ang application niyan ito, our relationship with Christ must prioritize our time with Him. Meaning to say, word, prayer, over any other thing. The desire for God Himself must be first and foremost or paramount. Nakuha nyo? Napansin ko nga yan sa akin. Sa akin, bilang pastor, as for many years already, I've been in the ministry for 30 more years, 32. Ang isang malaking temptation sa mga manggagawa, co-servant na katulad nyo, katulad ko, ay maging in love sa ministry, pero yung relationship at time natin kay God na hindi masyado. Isang temptation yun. Yung masyado kang busy, ang daming ginagawa kasi nagmumukha kang importante kapag maraming ginagawa Pero yung time talaga kay God, hindi na quality. Pag magpipray, na lang, pagkakain, nagbabasa ng Bible, basa na lang, walang fresh revelation. O kahit yung pag-attend sa church, ma-attend ka sa church, pagpunta mong iniisip mo ano yung gagawin mo, paano ka magsiserve, ano yung mga asikasuhin. Mahalaga yun. Kaya lang sana, balikan natin yung reason. No? Ang hinihingi talaga sa atin ni Lord yung relationship natin. Kaya sa Revelation, may sinabi doon si Jesus sa church. Sabi niya, bumalik ka sa first love. Bumalik daw tayo sa first love natin. We have to remember our first love. Okay? So that's the first principle that we can learn from the book. Number 2 is that love must be exclusive and pure. Ang principle dito na makikita nyo, na ina-affirm actually sa book of Song of Solomon, is that the mutual declaration of ownership. Sabi nung lalaki, my beloved, sabihin nun exclusivity of relationship. My relationship with other people cannot be more than my relationship with my wife. Nakuha nyo? Hindi tayo pwedeng magkaroon ng other wife. Kailangan exclusive lang talaga sa kanya. Non-negotiable yun. So, ang application nun sa marriage, it means that faithfulness and guarding our emotion and our physical purity, we have to guard that against adultery. Nakuha nyo? Yun ang application sa marriage. Sa spirituality naman, ang ibig sabihin niyan, we should worship God alone. Pwede kaya na worship na natin si Yahweh, si God, may Jesus na tayo, pero we are still serving other gods? Pwede talaga. Pag hindi tayo naging maingat, pwedeng ganun nagsiserve ka kay Jesus, pero eventually makikita mo sarili mo, ang siniserve mo na yung sarili mo, siniserve mo kaya tao, o kaya siniserve mo ay pera. If that is the case, that is becoming actually other God. Now, in this book, sinasabi sa atin na yung love relationship natin kay Jesus, kay God, dapat exclusive, walang kaagaw. Lahat ng kaagaw natin o sa atin ng Diyos, dapat bitawan yun. Nakuha niyo, we have to reject idols and every other things that take away our love for the Lord. Dapat tanggalin yan. So, love must be exclusive. Okay. Pangatlo, vulnerability requires assurance. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Basahin natin na. Principle, the bride searches for her beloved in the city, showing anxiety and fear of separation, but ultimately finds him and brings him home. Ano ibig sabihin yan? Well, application yan, intimacy involves vulnerability. Ganun talaga eh. O ito, heart to heart. At totoo lang, once na ikaw nagbigay ng puso mo, ng pagmamahal mo sa isang tao, binubuksan mo actually ang sarili mo sa kanya, at yung tao na pinagbibigyan mo ng pagmamahal ay meron ng capacity to hurt you. And you know what? We have to accept that. That is really a fact. Kapag nagmahal ka na ng isang tao, binubuksan mo ang sarili mo doon sa tao na pwede kanya talagang masaktan. Ang tawag doon, vulnerability. In fact, kapag ang isang tao hindi siya vulnerable, hindi siya willing masaktan, parang hindi nga siya totoong nagmamahal eh. Naman niyo? Actually, yun ang ginawa ni Jesus sa atin. He was so willing to feel the pain at the cross only to say He loves us. He loves us so much that He is willing to die for us. So, sa ating mga asawa, pag nagmamahal tayo at minamahal nila tayo, pag nararamdaman natin yung pagmamahal nila ng todo-todo, ang ibig sabihin nun, binubuksan talaga nila yung sarili nila at anytime pwede talaga natin silang masaktan. Ngayon, tayo naman na minamahal ng mahal natin, ng asawa natin, o yung karelasyon natin, dapat tayo naman magbigay tayo ng assurance na, you know what, I'm really committed to you. Nakuha nyo? And reciprocal to the vulnerability that the person is actually opening to us. Tayo naman ang bibigay natin yung assurance ng ating commitment. Okay? Kaya lalo tayong mga lalaki, no? Tayong mga lalaki, yung asawa nating babae, they're actually most vulnerable. Between husband and wife, yung babae, I should say, ang tawag nito, yung assurance, mas kailangan talaga ng babae because women are emotional and so therefore yung vulnerability nila mas malaki talaga. So tayong mga lalaki, I encourage yung mga lalaki dyan, let's constantly reassure our spouses of our love and commitment to them. Okay, number 4. Sa Song of Songs chapter 2 verse 15, may binanggit doon actually little foxes. Naman niya. Sabi doon, catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil the vineyard, for our vineyards are in blossom. The vineyard represents relationship. Doon daw sa taniman, kaya ang picture ko dyan sa sa slides natin, yung tanim ng mga ubas. Yung mga ubas, yung tanim na yan, may pumupunta daw ng mga fox. Ano ba sa Tagalog ng fox? Yung mga maliliit na di ba? Asong gubat. Anyway, foxes. Ngayon, pag pumunta yun sa vineyard, mahilig silang naglalaro, naguhukay doon ng kung ano-ano. To the point na nasisira yung taniman mismo. Nakuha nyo? Ngayon, dito sa picture na ito, yung vineyard actually represents the relationship between husband and wife. Ngayon, pag pinabayaan daw natin yung foxes na yun, na maglaro-laro doon sa vineyard, masisira yung vine, yung vineyard mismo. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Ang ibig sabihin nun ganito. Sa marriage o sa relationship, merong mga bagay na nakakasira. Minsan maliliit lang yun eh. Pero pag hindi mo pinansin, malaki ang nagagawa nun sa relationship. Kailangan pansinin yun, tanggalin, palayasin dun sa vineyard yung little foxes na yun so that the vineyard will not be ruin. Nakuha nyo? Yun ang ibig sabihin niyan. Ano ba yung mga little foxes natin? Siguro, ito lang, magbabanggit lang ako ng ilan. Siguro yung halimbawa, may asawa ka na, pero paminsan-minsan, ino-open mo yung sarili mo makipag-fling-fling sa iba, little foxes yun. O kaya, ganon. May asawa ka na ngayon, pero sumisilip ka pa dun sa mga ex mo dati, ayun, little foxes yun, makakasira yun sa relationship. O kaya, little foxes na yung may need yung asawa mo, pero halimbawa, ang need niya ay time, pwedeng ganun service, depende sa kanyang love language. Tapos hindi natin binibigyan ng pansin. Ang isa pang little foxes na nakita ko yung yung nangangako ka sa asawa mo pero hindi mo tinutupad. Kahit maliliit lang. Tapos minsan sasabihin natin, maliit lang na bagay yun, hindi niya papansinin yan. Yun yung mga maliliit na foxes na pag dumami yan, actually it's gonna ruin our relationship. So it's not usually a major sin that destroys marriage or spiritual life, but small neglected issues, critical attitudes, poor communication. These are the example. Unconfessed resentment, yung naiinis ka, hindi mo inaamin, iniipon mo na lang, iniimbak mo hanggang sa bigla ka na lang sasabog. Yun, maliliit na bagay pero pag kinimkim sumasabog. Too much time spent in hobbies, yung bang pag-uwi ka, naka-TV ka na lang, pag-uwi ka hindi na kayo nag-uusap, cellphone na lang, social media, ganyan. Mga little foxes yan. So, as leaders, we must be proactive in addressing those little foxes. Ang tanong ko, ano yung mga little foxes sa inyong relationship, sa inyong mag-asawa? Number 5, love is to be consumed and consummated. Songs chapter 4 verse 16 to chapter 5 verse 1. Dito makikita nyo, ang ilan nga dito pag nagbasa, ano ba to? Talagang nasa Bible ba to? Parang erotic daw yung Basahin nyo kasi para nyo ma-appreciate nyo. Well, the transition from courtship to the marriage bed. Dito kasi, pinapakita na nagliligawan sila, eventually nakasal sila, tapos nandun na sila sa kanilang intimate showing of their love sa marriage bed. The king invites his bride and God explicitly approves the end of the delight and enjoyment of physical intimacy in marriage. Clarify ko yan. Dito makikita niyo yung ganong description. Ay, may ganito pala. Makikita mo pag in-interpret mo talaga, makikita mo section Makikita mo. Pero it only tells us actually that God approves it. Gusto ni God na ma-enjoy natin yung physical intimacy natin with our spouse. Nakuha nyo? Kaya kayo bilang asawa, kapag yung halimbawa yung asawa nyo ay nagpaparamdam na, may mga ganun yung asawa natin, di ba? May mga, ang tawag niya, merong mga cue, di ba? Pag nararamdaman nyo na nagpaparamdam na yung asawa nyo, pansinin nyo na. Nakuha nyo? Kasi ina-approve naman ni God yun Gusto nga ni God yun. Gusto ni God na na-enjoy yung dalawa, even yung physical intimacy. Kaya mababasa yung salitang, eat, friends, drink, and drunk with love. Nakuha nyo yung silang dalawa, sabi rito, magpakalasing kayo sa pagmamahalan nyo sa isa't isa. Nakuha nyo? By the way, mga babae, wag nyong minamaliit yung sexual need ng inyong asawa. Very important yan. And actually, God approves it. Ang application naman yan sa church, ang church dapat sineselebrate yung sacredness of marriage bed as a gift from God. This passage actually symbolizes the complete surrender and satisfaction found in the union with Christ. Actually, yung sexual relationship na mag-asawa, makikipag-sex ka lang naman, di ba, sa isang tao, sa asawa mo, kapag totally sinurrender mo yung sarili mo. Right? Kasi hindi ka naman yung magagawa. Ano kapag hindi mo sinurrender yung sarili mo? Pero pag sinurrender mo yung sarili mo, in there, you will feel the beauty of relationship, the intimacy, di ba? The satisfaction. And actually, that is the picture of us to God. We have to totally surrender ourselves to Him so that we will be able to enjoy our relationship with Him also. Okay, number 6, the commitment of love endures trial and distance. Well, the bride is initially hesitant to open the door to the kings, causing a moment of coldness and separation. The experience is painful, leading her to search desperately for him again. Dito pinapakita na yung nagkahiwalay sila but the groom actually, which is basically the king, has separated for a while. Pero yung it actually led to the bride, to the girl actually, to feel indifferent for quite a time, no? Pero eventually that led him also to desperately seek for his love once again. Anong application natin dito? Yung spiritual apathy. Alam niyo ibig sabihin ng apathy? Hindi apathy to na kanta nung pop, Korean pop, hindi. Yung apathy, ang ibig sabihin nito yung wala ka ng parang pakialam. O kaya yung, alam mo yung salitang slacking off, parang tinatamad ka na sa relasyon nyo. Naka nyo? Yung wala ka ng pakialam sa karelasyon mo, halimbawa sa asawa mo, yung, sige, papasok na lang siya. Nandyan lang kami, kikita lang kami, pero hindi kami nag-uusap, wala nang connection, wala nang relationship. Actually, that is actually apathy. Yung, may mga narinig akong ganito, yung, ang asawa ko, parang magkapatid na lang kami niyan. Pag ganun, yun, dumadating actually yun sa spiritual, parang, slacking off. Pag ganun actually, it creates a distance. Kahit magkasama kayo, hindi ka nag-uusap, tapos hindi mo siya pinapansin, hindi ka na concerned sa kanya, hindi mo siya nakausap, hindi ka na nag-share sa kanya ng mga ng mga secrets mo, and so therefore, parang wala ka nang pakialam, nagdudulot ng distance kahit sa mag-asawa. Nakuha niyo. And so therefore, dapat i-overcome natin yun. Alam niyo, ganun din sa relationship natin kay God. Pwedeng every week present ka naman sa small group, sa D group. Every week nagsisimba ka naman. Every morning nakikinig ka naman ng audio Bible. Pero yung ikaw mismo, hahanapin mo talaga yung ano ba yung sinasabi talaga ni God sa akin. Ikaw mismo ang gagawa ng paraan so that your relationship with God will go deeper. Pag hindi ganon, it's going to create also like a sense of distance. Naka nyo? Because the true mark of love is we have to pursue our loved one. The person that we love, ipupurso natin dapat. Ganon din kay God. Naka nyo? We have to pursue our love with God, especially in the times of stumbling moments or period of coldness. Naka nyo? Last, number 7. Love is stronger than death. Song chapter 3 verse 6 to 7. Song of Songs chapter 8 verse 6 to 7. Ang prinsipyo rito, set me as a seal upon your heart, sabi rito, as a seal upon your arm, for love is strong as death. Jealousy is fierce as the grave. Love is an unquenchable flame from more valuable than all. Anong sinasabi rito? Mas makapangyarihan ang pagmamahal kaysa sa kamatayan. How do I apply this truth? This truth points directly to Christ. His love for us was so strong that it conquered death itself. This is actually the model for Christian marriage, a love that is sacrificial and persists until death. Ano ibig sabihin yan? Yung pagmamahal natin, pagmamahal na nahihigatan yung takot sa kamatayan. And that was actually modeled to us by Jesus himself. Naka nyo? So, love is stronger than death. So, what is typology? Typology actually is a kind of interpretation, and most scholars says that in the book of Song of Solomon, this is the best approach. The song is literally about human marriage, but it typifies the relationship between God and His people. The purity, exclusivity, and passion of human relationship are earthly shadows of the heavenly reality. Kumbaga parang sinasabi dyan, makikita mo dyan yung passion talaga nung lalaki sa kanyang asawa, sa kanilang isa't isa, no, yung pagmamahal nila. Makikita mo, parang earthly makalaman no? Pero actually, ang spiritual significance nun ganun. Kung titingnan mo na yung lalaki dito is si God, kung paano niya pinurso yung babae sa libro, ganun din niya tayo pinupurso actually bilang mga minamahal. So, okay. Now, can we see some traces or teaching about Jesus in the book of Song of Solomon? Yeah, may ilang mga bagay dito. Actually, may mga binanggit siya rito na typology. This is a type of Jesus, no? Pinapakita na ito yung itsura ni Jesus actually. Foreshadowing, no? Tingnan natin ano yun. Una yung the beloved as king. Yung nagsasalita rito na lalaki, siya yung king, no? Well, that is actually a typology of Jesus. Christ is the promised son of David, the ultimate king. The king, the bridegroom, relationship perfectly foreshadows Christ's relationship with the church. Dito yung lalaki, siya yung hari. At tayo, kung i-interpret natin yun sa New Testament, si Jesus Christ yung hari natin eh. Siya yung nagmamahal sa atin. At yung babae naman dyan sa Song of Solomon, yung church yun actually. Nakuha nyo? And even the king was also illustrated himself as the shepherd. Ano sabi ni Jesus Christ sa New Testament? I am the good shepherd. So in that, makikita natin, oy, si Jesus pala nandyan na. No? Aside from that, the word lily of the valleys and the rose of Sharon. Sa Song chapter 2 verse 1, sabi rito, I am a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valley. These are actually titles for the beloved, suggesting a profound and uniquely beauty and purity. Pag sinabing Rose of Sharon tsaka Lilies of the Valley, ang ano niyan, sinisignify niyan, ano yung kagandahan tsaka yung kalinisan. Naka nyo? The Rose of Sharon often identified as a type of crocus or narcissus. This is actually a beautiful bloom found in the plain, signifying Christ's earthly humility and simple origin, while the lily signifies purity and majesty. So yung lily of the valleys and even rose of the Sharons were actually picturing or illustrating Christ as someone who has the humility but also signifies purity and majesty. Nyo? Ano pa? Yung salitang chief among 10,000s. Sa chapter 5 yan, nakalagay, verse 10. Sabi doon, my beloved as a radiant and ruddy, distinguished among 10,000. This description of the bridegroom points to the absolute perfection, glory, and unmatched preeminence of Christ. Nakuha nyo, yung sinabing he is distinguished among 10,000. He is uniquely set apart as the head of all things. And sino yun? Sa New Testament, that represents Jesus. Okay. Yung love strong as death. Ano ibig sabihin yan? Strong as death. Yung pagmamahal niya daw ay mas makapangyarihan pa sa kamatayan. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Sa New Testament, si Jesus pinakita yan actually. Yung kanyang pagmamahal ay mas makapangyarihan pa kaysa sa kamatayan, to the point na he even conquered death. Meaning to say, yung buhay niya, inalay niya talaga para sabihin sa church, sa atin, na mahal niya tayo. Pero hindi lang yun, yung buhay niya mismo, nakuha nyo, hindi na-contain ng kamatayan. Talagang mas malakas siya sa kamatayan that after 3 days of being buried, he resurrected from the grave. Nakuha nyo, he conquered death. Okay, so dun tayo tatapos. Meron tayong rito, 3 small group discussion